When you are a dentist, you need money for stuff, unexpected life circumstances, developing your education, equipment, and more. I'm here with my awesome friend and Nacho sponsor, who has developed a program to help dentists and doctors in an amazing way, one that I admire. Can you share with us who you are and what you do to help dentists and doctors?
Paul, good to see you again as always. And I think your community might know me. It was fun being at your last conference. It was 2023, I think it was now.
Yeah.
But we are doc-to-doc lending. I'm Dr. Zwade Marshall. I am an anesthesiologist and interventional spine specialist based in Atlanta. But more importantly, I'm co-founder and CEO of Doc2Doc. And we give personal loans to docs. So as Paul just said, life happens. You're getting married, you're getting divorced, you just had a baby, your basement flooded, you're building out your practice and you need to get the medical equipment before your larger commercial loan gets funded. You got to meet payroll. It doesn't matter why, it's any legal reason. We're able to fund up to $100,000. Our application process, as many of your audience knows, is seamless and streamlined. They can apply within about 3 to 4 minutes, all online on your mobile phone, get an approval within about 45 seconds if you're going to be approved, and then we can fund that loan in a matter of days. And then I think the best feature of the product, Paul, is that there's no prepayment penalties. So you're
That's
not
great.
locked in. You've got an ability to refinance. If you've got other capital later on, you can overpay and we'll apply that overpayment directly to principal so that you can get out of debt faster and we don't charge you any fees for the interest that we lose by you paying off early.
I love it. I've loved your whole story. I want to ask you about the why in a second. But before that, my story is I was just interviewing my own intern, amazing young dentist, Dr. Brandon Labe, who needed $20,000 to invest in a CE course. And one of the things that's nacho nuts about dentists, Wadi, is we take out four or five, $600,000 to get a dental degree. But then when you're a new dentist, they say, oh, just save up for this learning. But it could take you years to save up. And Brandon utilized Doc2Doc and has already paid off the loan with his new skills. Are you seeing things like this in dentists who are trying, and dentists and doctors who are trying to further their own skill set?
Man, it gives me goosebumps to think that on a random conversation with your intern, that we
Yeah.
could have impacted his life
Yeah.
already. And it goes to show, like, we funded over $140 million now of loans to
That's awesome.
doctors everywhere. And we love the dental community. And I can tell you that Brandon's story is not unique, right? Like, it's funding CEs, it's funding courses to gain additional skills in either it's orthodontics or any kind of like improving your medical practice kind of course that'll drive more revenue. We fund quite a bit of those. We also fund just the I need an equity injection into my practice for a
Yeah.
commercial loan to fund the financing of an expansion or a build out. More importantly now too, Paul, a lot of your entrepreneurial docs that are in larger groups that are buying partnership shares in their private equity owned practice, they'll borrow for us for their partner buying shares as well. So this is a anything comes up,
Yeah.
you need that
I've
money,
used it
take
as
a look.
a, it's a PG show, but I've used it, say, Doc2Doc helps you with the fun. And on the other side, the effed up parts of life because things happen unexpectedly and you're there to help them. But you've shared so much in our community, but you're new to some people. Can you just share why you started? I love your origin story, your own
Yeah.
personal one. So if someone was just watching in right now saying, why did Dr. Zwade start Doc2Doc? Tell us about that.
Yeah, man. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
I from an immigrant family, single parent household, went to medical school in Atlanta at Emory. And on match day was thrilled to say, hey, I got into Harvard, right? I was going to do
That's awesome.
anesthesia at my number one program, but I was going from Georgia to Boston. And if anyone knows about those two cities, one's kind of cheap, not as much anymore, and one is really, really expensive.
Yeah.
So I needed to get the residency relocation costs. I need to get a loan for it because I didn't have the money. I already had 212,000 bucks in student loan debt. My income as a first year intern at Harvard was going to be less than $14 an hour for the 80 hours a week
Jeez.
I work. And my FICO score was considered to be subprime. And if you're trying to borrow money personally, having less than a 700 FICO score makes it almost impossible. And that's where I was. And I didn't have bad behavior. It was just a matter of the journey from medical debt and education
Yeah.
that kind of accumulated against me. And so getting to borrow $17,000 appeared impossible. And the approvals that I was getting were for predatory interest rates that just didn't
Yeah.
feel fair. So we founded the company with the doctor's life cycle in mind. We understand why you've got blemishes on your credit report. We lend down to a 600 FICO score for
Yeah.
our in-training doctors, a 650 for our established doctors. And I mean every like doctors are physicians, dentists, veterinarians, and the gamut of provider docs. We've
Yeah.
expanded our portfolio to include all the
Awesome.
docs. And it's just heartening to hear the stories of folks who apply to us after they've been denied 3 to 4 times elsewhere. And when we call, and we do call, like our physician engagement team will call and say, "Welcome to the family, Dr. Goodman. We're thrilled
I love
to
that.
fund your loan." You can hear the emotion on the other person's voice because they were not expecting that answer from us. And so the I think the reviews are in. You know, we've got a phenomenal Trustpilot review score with over 300 five-star reviews. We funded again a lot of loans, over 4,000 now, to the tune of $140 million.
That's great.
And we just want to be a resource. And the best part of it for us is we like working with people that we like. So like the
Yeah.
Nachos community and what's Nachos nuts, as Paul said,
Yeah.
is that we can provide a service that will benefit the community of dental notchers because we're strong believers in what you do to build a community, Paul. I think oftentimes the support and the imposter syndrome and the stress of having a practice and trying to figure out how to balance the
Yeah.
checkbook and take care of your family and take care of patients, right? It's all a lot. And the more we lean into each other, the better off we can be because we've lived it too. And so our mission and mantra is to serve our community the way USAA serves veterans.
I love
If
that.
you're a doc, think about doc to doc.
You shared so many awesome things. I always say the mission of Dental Nachos is to help dental professionals learn, laugh, and most of all, Zwade, feel less alone. And I can imagine how alone you felt after you followed all the instructions of life in becoming a medical doctor, and you were just alone in, I cannot get this money to do the thing that I need. And in your case, it was to find a place to live, right? And
That's right.
it's just so cool that you guys provide this opportunity for people who might be embarrassed, feel shame. People say, "Aren't you rich already?" They don't understand it, right? The general public. And for you to be able to say, "Hey, we're here for you." I mean, we had and I'm just kind of reinforcing one of the Nacho dentists wanted to become a traveling surgeon, and they used Doc to Doc to buy $20,000 worth of equipment, and they paid it back with that. Now, I just want to spend a couple more minutes because I've learned so much about finance in general with you. So we talked about the feelings, we talked about the fun, right? We can just dentists are not an easy group, right? They ask questions about the questions, why our training's different than yours. So when I say, oh, Doc to Doc can help you, someone will go, just max out your credit cards. Don't worry about some loan. Just kind of talk to us, maybe just, I don't know if it's financial fitness or because there's a lot of confusion around, oh, don't take a loan, just to max out your credit cards. Is there anything you can add to just kind of have some value and education to our community?
Yeah. Thank you for that question because I think a large part of what we are able to do is educate the public, the medical public on how money works and how loans work. The first thing is, if you don't need to borrow, you shouldn't. And I cringe when the finance professionals tell our community, hey, debt is all bad because we're not doing consumption spending. We're not borrowing
Hey,
buy boats and
yeah,
watches. We're in a cohort where oftentimes the money that we borrow in this context is an investment in our professional future that will bear good fruits as we develop our practices, we get the skill set to kind of earn more. So that's the first thing. Second thing is we're in a really high interest rate environment currently, and it's getting a little bit better. It was worse, I would say 9 months ago, and it's beginning to taper out and go down a bit. And things like your credit card APR, that's oftentimes north of 29%, where it's revolving debt, meaning that your credit report gets that ding every month that you're
yeah,
holding that balance and your credit utilization is up. And the worst part about credit cards in specific, and the number one use case for our loan is credit card debt consolidation. Number one,
yeah,
Paul. Number one, because As you keep that balance on that card and you're making payments, the principal's not going down. And that
Yeah,
high utilization is stifling your credit score. So it makes it hard to get other loans that are lower interest that can get you out of debt faster. So our product is meant to help you get out of the credit card debt. It's an installment loan. So every payment that you make towards our loan, a part goes to principal and a part goes to interest. That way, that balance is getting lower every month. And it takes 5 years in total to pay it off. If you paid the minimum, you're out of that in 5 years. But if you overpaid, we apply the overpayment to the principal so that less interest will accrue
that's
and
great.
there's no penalties to prepaying.
I mean, these are the financial fitness facts. You know, I'm older than you, but I believe the nutrition industry really duped us in the 80s with all the processed food that they said was good for us. And I'm still suffering years later. And I think I wish I had some of these nutrition facts, and these facts that you're giving to dentists and doctors are so valuable. Let's swing it the other way now. And even this is an easy question. You know, dentists can go and get a practice loan, right? They can go get a practice loan from banks, and the banks are lining up to give them money for a practice loan. But like these same banks, they're not as interested in giving money for CE or giving money for this. Just like tell us that why, right? I mean, even
Yeah.
if it's easy for you, like why, oh, if a dentist can get $1 million for a practice, why can't they get $36,000 for this life endeavor? Why are they not interested in kind of funding these loans?
Yes. The biggest reason is because a practice loan is collateralized. That
Yeah.
bank has access to your practice receivables, the equipment in your practice, and should you not pay that loan off, they can repossess it and they can resell it later on. And oftentimes they're insuring the business against their loan, and the business is worth more than the loan. So if you default, they win.
Yeah.
These CE loans, our loan is an unsecured loan. We are trusting that you're a dentist and that you're a part of the community and that you'll repay on your credit obligations as you commit to doing. And if you don't, we don't get to repossess anything. The only thing we can do is put it on your credit report. So the whole point of this kind of borrowing compared to collateralized borrowing is we don't have an interest in your business or in your car, in your home. This is completely unsecured. Hence,
Gotcha.
we can fund it faster. We don't have to look at your business collateral and all the assets and your accounts receivable. We can just go quickly on your credit profile and your income.
It's almost like Swati, they should take a little piece of dental schools and medical schools and teach this stuff because this is the stuff that really gets dentists and doctors into trouble when they have good intentions but just don't know what to do. I can't thank you enough for sharing all of this, for existing. I feel so good that we get to partner together as sponsors. People can text doc to doc to 215-543-6454. You also often have fun incentives too for people to fund loans that you have going on now. But is there anything I missed before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think we do have an incentive of an Amazon gift card if you fund the loan by March 1st.
Awesome.
We also, I know a ton of your community are also investors. We just got picked up on Start Engine, a national platform. Kevin O'Leary is the public face of it.
Oh,
It's
cool.
a wonderful in Shark Tank. And so you can invest in as little as $500. You can be a part of the Doc to Doc story on the investor side. And we're on
Cool.
Start Engine. And so we'll share that link as well.
I'm going to check that myself. Well, Zwadi, thanks so much for sharing with us. I appreciate your sponsor support and being a resource to Dental Nachos.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure, Paul. Thanks for having me.